Joining us right now is Representative Ralph Norman, Republican of South Carolina, member of the House Freedom Caucus. We had your chairman yesterday, Andy Harris, on. So, Congressman Norman, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, my pleasure to be with you, Larry and Julie.
So now you were one of the 4 Republicans in the Budget Committee to vote against this, and I wonder now where things stand for you on this bill as it approaches a critical Rules Committee vote later this week.
Well, first of all, Larry, some version of the bill is going to pass. The no votes early on that I was a part of, it's got some great things in it. Tax cuts, as you mentioned, that are going to revive the economy, and other things. But what we're trying to do, and we knew we had a second and third bite at the apple. So for your listeners, it's going to pass, even if we have to get 2 bills. But I don't know how many more downgrades America has got to go through before we realize there's not a spending problem. It's not an income problem. It's a spending problem. 16 nations now have a higher debt rating than America. That being said, we did pass it through Sunday night at 10 o'clock. Yeah. Over the weekend, we got some changes, but it's changes that really every American, every congressman, every senator ought to be for. Why should able working Americans who choose not to get a job get a government paycheck? Why should illegals get a paycheck? Yeah. And the IRAs. So
I don't disagree with you. I think we have a spending problem too, 100%. The problem is, the problem. It's numbers. The math doesn't lie. The same way the math doesn't lie about our spending and our debt and our deficits. The math doesn't lie when this bill goes to the Senate and they can't cobble together enough votes to get it because there aren't enough Republicans on board with what you want to do. I don't even think there's enough Republicans in the House of Representatives on board with what you want. So since we can't get the Ralph Norman bill, what are you willing to vote for? In other words, the president's coming to the House today. Are you for the bill as it stands right now? What more do you want to hear from the president today?
What I would like to hear is for the president and he's got a tremendous amount of power. He's got a tremendous amount of leverage over every lawmaker. What I would hope for him to do is for the blue states that are holding out, particularly on its assault provision, taxes, to get behind this. We're adding $4 trillion to the debt every year anyway with this. Let's get behind making some modest cuts, and I'm in. I think ultimately we will get there. Now, I've been down this road before, Larry. Rush, get it right now. We're voting at 1 a.m. tomorrow, 1 a.m. We'll probably vote after that in that morning, Thursday morning. But people, we've got to read the bill. This isn't a Nancy Pelosi pass it, then read it. It's 1,400 pages long, and it's not too much to ask. Now, the Senate's going to sit on it. This rush, get it. And I know the president wants it because he has the momentum. But, we've got to get at least the things that will get this country back on a financial track. If we don't now with reconciliation, we may never have this chance again, particularly with the midterms coming up.
I think that's one thing that worries people with the midterms. Americans are struggling, and terrified of their taxes going up. And I think, you mentioned we might get more than one bill. I mean, you mentioned in a tweet, Medicaid spending up 51% in just 5 years. I agree. We need to get this under control. But there is this fear, I think, among the American public that the taxes will go up before this is done. How do you message to the American people that if this bill is passed, there's still so much work to do? Because I think people think of this as just the big, beautiful bill and then it's done. How do you message the American public that there's more work to be done?
Well, by what we're doing, we delayed it the first time, and not delayed it by 2 days. And all we're saying is let's curb this spending. The reason we're being downgraded is we really haven't cut the spending. Republicans campaign on it all day long, but the bottom line, Julie, we're going to get the tax cuts in place. That's a given, and it's just a matter of getting the other things so that we're on a trajectory that we're not continually being downgraded.
I want to try to get some specifics if we can. So you just said that you want the president to tell these moderate or blue district Democrats to get on board. You said with the SALT deductions, that's the deductibility of state income taxes. What specifically? Because they're ready to get on board, but they want the deductibility at a certain level. You all want it at a different level. What do you demand, or what do you want right now with SALT?
Here's a specific, Larry. The deduction now is $10,000 per property. They want to raise it to 30. That's fine. Well, they said they wanted to raise it to 100. That's more than some people make in the South. But they want to raise it to 30 is what they have rejected. But let's say they get it to 40. Pay for it. Find us a way that they pay for it, like we've done with the 12 appropriation bills. The other thing I would tell you is the subsidies. We've made a tremendous, over the 2 days that we've delayed, they took the subsidies that Donald Trump campaigned on cutting those day one, wind and solar, which is taken from nuclear. I'm sorry, the sun doesn't shine 24 hours a day. The giveaways.
Who's standing in the way of those the Green New Deal stuff? Who in the House right now is standing in the way from that? Certainly not Republicans.
Well, let's just say every dollar spent, every subsidy given in Washington, D.C. has an advocate for it, both Republican and Democrat. I'm not going to name names. All I can tell you is we only got 40% of them out.
Well, you should name names. They'll name your name, if they don't like you. You should name their name. That's how it's done here. Come on.
We won't tell anyone.
Norman.
Well, you'll see it when the final vote comes out. But look, I'm confident we're going to get it. I'm confident if we can get, let's say, 60 or 70% of the subsidies, which are giveaways, $7,000 per electric car. That's not right. Able working Americans who sit on the couch and eat Fritos, that's not right. Yeah. The FMAP, the 90% that the government gives for every dollar the state puts in, is not right. All I'm saying is I can name you 100 examples of easy things to cut if people would look beyond their own, I guess, own well-being and
their own district's interest.
Yeah.
One last question. You said rightly that the president does wield a lot of influence right now in this country and in your caucus, the Republican caucus, that is, and the Freedom Caucus. It seems to me there's two pressure points right now. One pressure point is concern about those blue state Republicans who, if they lose in the midterms, Hakeem Jeffries gets the gavel. And people like you. People like, now, I want to make it personal, Congressman Norman, because I've known you for a while. You endorsed Nikki Haley for president. You eventually, of course, endorsed President Trump. And you are now standing in the way of his desire to have this bill taken care of. Do you worry that very influential President Donald Trump will actually endorse an opponent against you in a primary? And will that actually motivate how you decide to vote on this?
They already said they're going to do that.
You're already being primaried.
Yeah, I mean that's what they've. Yeah, but and this isn't new news. I mean they take it out on people they think that are getting in their way. I'm not. We're making it better. I will never say one bad word about the president. Yes, I endorsed Haley, and I did the right thing for me. Yes, if he wants to primary me or whatever, look, I'm fine with that. This is bigger than Ralph Norman. This is for the country. And, you can't look at it just that personally, in my opinion. Now, you think that on the subsidies, I haven't had to tell companies, no, you're not going to get it. Let's get the country back, and maybe we can see if we can spare it. But I'm tired of borrowing money and making excuses for why we're not doing the right thing. I did the right thing. And what I would hope the president would do in an hour and a half is really give a great speech, which he will, and those who promised the blue states he would give them cover. They've done a good job. And but these government handouts with money we don't have has got to at least be curbed. And this isn't unreasonable. The things that we've done are really not. The things I mentioned to you this morning, you poll any American, they would say that's the right thing to do.
It's always a good conversation with Congressman Ralph Norman, and you can just sort of, it sounds like you just woke up and had a low country boil before you came on there. I just love that.
hot cup of coffee.
There it is, same thing. Thanks, Congressman Norman. Always good to talk to you.
Thanks.
South Carolina.
Thank y'all.
South Carolina. North Carolina defers to South Carolina.